Hey, Goat Knucklers, it is Flo. Welcome back to Goat Knuckle Talk with Flo. This is episode 74. And guys, if you love this video and you're loving all of our videos, man, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and leave a comment. That would definitely help our channel. So, again, this is episode number 74. We're climbing up to 100. Let me go introduce you to my co-host, Lisa Nolan Hafner. Hey, Lisa.
Hi,
And
Flo.
everybody, check out the new pod equipment.
Finally, my
Professional.
my boss finally hooked me up.
So, who's our guest tonight?
Well, we have a special guest tonight, Rowell from class of '85, and hopefully, folks out there don't hear the background noise. It sounds like a poltergeist on our end. And welcome back, Reed. We're so thrilled to have you. And tonight's a really special night. We're going to have some, in-depth and intimate conversations with you about your life and promote the book that you just released called Overflow. And we can't thank you enough for your willingness to come on to the show tonight. Anyway, so welcome. And without further ado, just tell us right off the bat, and your story, you share your story really in depth in this book, but what inspired you to write a book and to be so well, let me backtrack, okay, before I ask this question, because it is relevant to the question that I want to ask. We all grew up in a small town where everybody knows us and a lot of people know your business, whether you
That's
want to
right.
or not. So for you to, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be vulnerable, to really expose yourself. Where did he go?
I don't know. We lost him.
Oh, hang on. Am I back?
Your audio is on, but the video is not. It's okay. It's all good.
Do you want me to log back in real quick?
Yeah. Do you have your cell phone?
Yeah.
Is it charged up?
Yeah.
You could be able to maybe try your cell phone. Maybe that definitely eliminate the noise.
Okay.
So sorry, guys. So Lisa and I would talk, and then we'll wait for you to come back on. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, no worries. Just log out and try logging in with your phone.
Okay.
So how are you liking the equipment?
Oh, it's wonderful. But, I wish our audience could see the ridiculous setup I have to get this microphone close to me. I have the box that this microphone came in, and then I have 3 yoga blocks stacked up in front of me. I'm sitting on a bolster and 2 blankets. I know. Wayne is going to help me come up with something this weekend to see if that works.
How's
there
that?
he is. Oh,
There
that's so much better.
Hold on, my dog's in here. Get. Oh.
How's that?
It's much better, Reed. Much better.
We lost you again.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well, this is no bueno. There he is again. He must have hit a button on his phone.
I did. Absolutely, I did.
Well, hey, I just want to point out one thing before Lisa continues with the question. There's a typo in the title, right? They added a W when it should have been just FLO. Just kidding.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's funny. Anyway, back to what I was saying is that, we all grew up in Plainview, and, it's like any typical small town in America. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows your parents. Everybody knows what you've done. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so it takes, I applaud you, because it takes an incredible amount of courage and, like I said, extreme vulnerability to share a story as detailed and as vivid and complex as what you've been through in your journey. So what motivated or inspired you to write so candidly about your experience? Can you pinpoint, like, when that spark hit that you thought, I need to share my story?
Well, when Joe and I got married, she gave me a really thick journal, and it had a simple card in it, and it said, "I can't wait for you to fill this up." She wanted me to write. She'd seen some of the stuff that I'd written and stuff. And I didn't write in that because I haven't written that story yet, but she's the one that's inspired me to put it to paper. And that started 6 years ago. And about 6 months ago, it was kind of slow at work. I work from home. And she said, "You should write." And so in a day, I had an outline. I had no idea what I was going to write about. And then it just started coming out. And then it scared me because of exactly what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is going to know. And we're on a live show here, and I had to think about, well, some of my customers are my friends, and there's some of them that don't know. Not that I hid it. It's just not anything that comes up in the course of business in a day. And it's not really anything that comes up in the course of just living your regular life. The problem is that you think everybody else already knows, and they
Right.
don't. They really don't, because why would they? I mean, we've all gone our separate ways and done different things. But as you said, it's really embarrassing. And then when I finally got out of the way and got out of myself, God reminded me. And he was like, "So are we going to do this thing or not?" And so I set a start date. And I wrote this thing in 3 weeks.
You're kidding.
No. And
Wow.
it
just flowed out of you.
and you know, it was like I was emptying all that baggage that I talk about in the book. It was like I was emptying it finally, letting it go. And I would rewrite things because in all of this, God never left me. And I wanted to make sure that I was honoring him, but telling a real story, because most people would like to say that, "Oh yeah, it was just addiction's so hard and it's so deep." And you don't even realize how deep you are until you can't breathe anymore.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a prison story. It could be, I never went to prison, but the addiction would have been the same, because I built a prison for myself even after. So the spark was my wife encouraging me and telling me that it was going to be okay. And then God letting me know, if you'll get out of the way, I'll help you with this thing.
Yeah. So at the end, Reed, was it a cathartic experience to feel this, like you unburdened yourself? Was it a cathartic experience? Like you felt like you'd crossed a threshold of healing as a result of that process of writing?
I told, so, the first 6 or 7 chapters, they're really intense for me, because I was reliving it, because I was going back to different things that happened in my life. And I would tell her, so as I would write, I would send her pieces. She was like my first person to check me,
She was your
and
first editor.
yes, absolutely. And of course, she's a little biased. And so everything was like, "Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it." And so I would be mentally and physically wore out at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to sound like in a bad way, like I was releasing some things that I had no idea were even still there. It was surrender,
Sure.
finally surrendering it all, leaving it right where I talk about in the book, right there at the foot of the throne, because it was already taken care of. But man, we all know that you'll be your own worst enemy. I was. because you go to sleep every night telling yourself that you're not worthy because you do the same thing over and over and over. And it's such, for me, and I can't speak for everybody. There's some people that, you know, even to this day, I mean, there's people that can go and have a drink, and there's people that can whatever. And I'm not judging anyone. All I'm saying is I wasn't that person. I have an addictive nature, and I know that there's a lot of people like that, and I know that there's a lot of people that they give up before they even try.
Right.
So-
It's too daunting for them.
It's absolutely daunting.
Now,
And
your alcoholism, I was going to ask, did you like start in the morning or just something that, there's different levels of alcoholism. There really is. I mean, there's people that drink 24/7. There's people who start drinking and they can't stop and so on. So
so I guess I should back up a little bit here. And I came to this realization. I didn't put it in the book, but my first addiction was my last addiction. So I was a functioning alcoholic when we had the bar in Plainview, and then when I got out of prison, probably 5-6 months out of prison, I was drinking again. But I thought that I had graduated because I'd been to prison, so to speak. That it was okay because I could handle it because of course you can handle it, and I couldn't. Tell me which day. I mean, the weekends. Yeah, I probably started at 9 or 10 in the morning. As far as during the week at work, in all honesty, yes, I'd go home at lunch and I would have a drink. And I write in the book about, and he's one of my dear friends. He looked at me one day and he says, we can smell it, right? And I'm like, I was mortified because I was drinking. I didn't, I wasn't like a loose, happy drunk. I was drinking for companionship. I was drinking for self-worth. That's what I thought. It made me deal with myself better because I didn't have really any friends. And I have lots of friends, but where I was at, I had built a life. I built a prison outside of prison again.
Well, this is what I've learned about addiction. I don't, it's not something I struggle with, but I've helped people with it and read a lot. It's that, like you say, you had a lot of friends, but at the same time, you were lonely. It's one thing to have a layer of friends that are all on the superficial level. It's another thing to have intimate friends that know everything about you, are going to hold you accountable, that you reveal all the parts of yourself, and they're still going to love you anyway. And those friendships are few and far between.
That's exactly right.
Because we all wear a mask. And I was going to tell you earlier, when you were writing this book and that a lot of stuff came up for you that you didn't know you still needed to process. There's a term in Sanskrit called samskaras. They're imprints. Everything that we do in our life, everything that we experience, good, bad, neutral, wonderful, deplorable, it doesn't matter. It's imprinted in our cellular body. And so you can heal from it, but if you have to revisit it, if there's still some lingering stuff in those imprints in your cells, it's going to come to the surface. The emotions attached to those imprints in your cellular memory are still going to come to the surface. But writing a book is a great exercise in healing those. I've shared with Flo before. I have very severe childhood trauma, and I help women with trauma and young men and men too. I've healed from my trauma. I can now talk about it. I've killed all those imprints. I burned them away. Like they don't have any effect on me. Like you said, this idea of surrender. So what made you decide to include all the Bible verses at the beginning of the chapters?
Well, one thing that I can say, even though I relapsed, when I was locked up, reading the Bible was part of what I did. And if you read in the book, I was a doer. Wasn't much of a receiver, but I was a doer. And a lot of those verses, and some of the verses are verses that I'm living now, but they're all verses that are underlined or that meant something to me at different times. And so in writing the book, I would go through and I would look for those. And I wanted there to be, because at the end of the day, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that could say that, well, you could have done it, but that higher power for me was God. And so I wanted to honor him and what he's done for me, that it was what fed me and sustained me. Even during my alcoholism, that Bible stayed right beside my bed every night. It didn't, but just because you're in the middle of your addiction doesn't mean that you have cut off everything. It just, for me, it was like I didn't feel worthy to still be in his presence because I knew I wasn't living a right life. Not necessarily a terrible life, but I was guilty about the drinking because I knew that
It was wrong.
it was, for me, it was absolutely wrong, and it was controlling my life. So I had become a slave to McCormick's vodka in the end,
Yeah.
half a gallon at a time.
Yeah, I was
Just
gonna say I mean, that could be also a financial burden. I mean, how many of those bottles you buy a day or during the week? I mean, it's
a bottle every other day, half a gallon, and 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Easy.
yeah.
That's a lot of dough, my friend.
It's a lot of, oh, yes,
It adds up.
It adds up.
it adds up.
Before Flo asked the next question, earlier you said he never abandoned me. That was your reference to God never abandoning you. We always abandon ourselves.
Right.
This feeling of whatever we go through in life, and when we're feeling not worthy or despair or unmotivated or whatever, it's self-abandonment. That's what we do. And then we find a crutch for the thing that we created our own self.
Yeah.
You are so right. I can't tell you how many times that I made excuses when I didn't need to make any excuses at all because I didn't have anybody to answer to. I mean, there were times in my life that I did, but I should have been looking at myself in the mirror and saying, you got to stop. But I wasn't doing that. I was trying to make a way for it to be okay that I drank all the time.
Well,
And I wasn't
because that's a justification. Like I've abandoned myself, so here's my crutch. I'm going to drink because I don't feel worthy, and so now I'm going to be on a pity potty, and now I'm a victim, so I'm going to drink again, and
the cycle repeats.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, you go to bed every night and say, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm done.
Did I nail it?
Yeah.
Did I nail the cycle?
Oh, absolutely. It's Groundhog Day, the movie, for sure, because and then every morning, I would still be like, oh man, yeah, I got this. And then by lunch, I would go home and make me a Route 44 with our big gulp, half and half, and go back to work.
Wow. And you thought, I think you said in the book, and I've always heard it too, that vodka doesn't smell.
Bull-
Oh, well,
alcohol.
it absolutely does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. That's just a vicious rumor started by a bunch of alcoholics that wanted to get away with drinking.
Started by vodka.
Yeah, probably started by McCormick's.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And that's the cheap stuff.
Nobody
man.
will know.
Of course, it's the cheap stuff. Like you said a while ago, it cost some dough to be drinking and smoking all day, every day.
Exactly. So, before I ask my question, besides not drinking, what are you doing now to prevent you from drinking? What steps are you taking? What things are you doing to remind you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I tell you, of course, I've heard God audibly twice. And the first time was when I looked at the McCormick's bottle and said, not today. And God said out loud, it's about time. And there it is. And I'm telling y'all, I froze right there. And I had tears rolling down my face. And I knew I would never drink again. It was gone. It was released.
Cold turkey.
Cold turkey. And the next 3 or 4 days, I was literally scared to death because I had broke up with my best friend, McCormick's. I wasn't sure that I wasn't losing my mind a little bit. I didn't say anything to anybody about what happened because it seemed so surreal. When I tell you that I stood there I probably stood there for 30 minutes.
Going, I just heard a voice. Am I going crazy?
Yeah.
Right. And I had to say to myself, self, was that you? But it wasn't. And the way I know that is I didn't have any cold sweats. There were no detox. There was nothing.
So you had no withdrawals.
I had no withdrawals.
Your blood pressure didn't go up because I hear when people quit cold turkey, alcoholics, they go through withdrawals and blood pressure goes up.
I was healed.
Wow.
And I call it a miracle. Some people would say that, well, you probably weren't drinking as much as you think you were, or it probably wasn't a problem. No, it absolutely was. And it was one that controlled my life. It made me, I was social for social media. That's where I interacted with people because it was easy to sit in front of a computer and have a drink. But I didn't go anywhere, and I didn't. This sounds like an alcoholic. I didn't go out driving. I didn't. I wasn't. But it was because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, I'm sitting here, trying to say what made it, and that doesn't make it any better at all. I'm just saying I would go to work, and for the record, just so you know, my work was right across the street from where I lived there in Lubbock, like less than half a block. And so I could walk to work if I wanted to, but all I had to do is drive across the line, and I worked right there in some offices there. And then when I left work, I went right back across the street. But I was an alcoholic. I was a functioning alcoholic. But I had put myself in a box so far away from intimacy, from, like Lisa was saying, my good friends, the people that knew me well. My mom, she can tell if you've been drinking or not just by talking to you on the phone. And because we all think we're not doing. And so there was always moments where I would try to have the right talk voice on the phone. You know what I mean?
You slowed down.
You don't fool your mama.
gosh. Then
You
you
do
sound
not fool your mama.
yeah, and then you sound like an idiot anyway. So it's just, but Mike, seriously, I've never even wanted another drink. You know what? I'll even tell you this. When Joe and I got married, we stayed at the Overton at the honeymoon suite. They had a bottle of champagne in there. Okay. And we thought, well, it's just champagne. I did take a sip and I couldn't stand it. So not only was I healed from it, but even the taste and when I was drinking, I didn't really not like anything. If you just want to know the truth, I mean, everything was fine. It was just vodka seemed to be the one that I thought nobody could smell and then I could mix with just about anything and get away with. But I did take a sip and I couldn't stand it. And I was like, nope, that's not working.
Good for
Yeah.
you. So the question I was going to ask you is, okay, you said you quit cold turkey, but hitting rock bottom, going to jail. Do you think serving your time in jail kind of helped save your life? And if it did, can you elaborate?
You know, I thought about that a lot. Now, when I went to prison, it was for meth. Let's make no mistake about that. There was no drinking then. I was a meth monster. Um, and I had I had really just used up every system there is. The law system, the probation, my friends, my family, you name it. I don't know that prison saved my life, but what it did do is it created a pause. It created a stillness that I needed. Even though I relapsed to drinking when I got out, still, had I gone on the way I was going, I can't imagine. And it got me back in the word. And I'm no theologian, and I'm not a pastor, and I'm not a guy that memorizes every Bible verse or anything like that, but I like to get to know God. And I was getting to know him. Sometimes I was using him just like everybody else. Sometimes, he's not a waiter. He's he's a miracle worker if you let him be, but we all in our walk and stuff. So to answer your question, I don't know that it saved me, but it absolutely gave my life pause. So I didn't die. And because if I would have died during that, I would not have been saved, not saved according to what I consider saved. How's that?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, because man, y'all, I was the most selfish, self-centered, gangster thug, whatever you want to call me. It was I didn't have any of Reed left in me. I was just worried about not getting caught for the longest time. So when they came and got me, I was relieved in a lot of ways because I was tired,
Yeah.
you know. But I didn't really realize what my addiction was until and it's free will. Make no mistake about it. Your addiction is free will on anything because it's one of those things where yes, maybe you're taking too many uh, diet pills. Maybe you're drinking too much. Maybe you do meth. Maybe you smoke marijuana. Maybe you're a rageaholic. Maybe whatever those things are. They're all in the same category. It's free will. You have the freedom to do or not do those things. And
I
I didn't make
agree.
any good decisions.
Yeah.
I didn't make any good decisions.
Yeah. Addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter
Right.
what it is. I
And
Yeah.
totally agree.
And it doesn't even have to be an addiction to a substance. I mean, there's
No.
no,
food
right.
addiction. There are people, I suffered from bulimia for a long time. So I was addicted to laxatives because, heaven
Right.
forbid I gain an ounce or whatever. And I took a come to God thing that came and walloped me and, flushed them down the toilet. And it was the last time I ever did that. But,
Awesome.
addiction is addiction. It doesn't
is.
matter if it's to a substance. I mean, we're addicted to our phones, addicted to social media. I mean, it's the dopamine receptors in our brain. And then for some people, there is a genetic predisposition. There's a genetic component to your brain chemistry that predisposes you to have addiction to substances. How did you go from alcohol to meth. And then before you answer that question, when you came out and you said you started drinking again, was it kind of like this mentality like, oh, I served my time, I deserve a drink?
It's
Oh, no,
almost
no, no.
also, but you did mention too that you stopped drinking for 30 days. And how did you celebrate? Same way getting out of jail, drinking.
So when I got out, I didn't drink for, I don't know. Well, you know what? If we're just being honest here, so when I got out, you have to have a parole package, and of course, my parents, who have stuck beside me forever and ever and ever, they uh, asked me, or I was living with them, and then I moved into my own place. Well, and then I started hanging around people that, of course, you know where I met the people that I drank with the first time at AA,
Wow.
and I knew they were there for the same reason I was there, because you had to go, because on my parole I had to make 2 meetings a week at first. So anyway, long story short, it's not their fault. They came by my house where there was no oversight, of course, and I drank a couple of beers. And then, and you know what? For a long time, it was just beer. Maybe some shots here and there of stuff. But I make it sound like I went shopping for 6 or 7 months. But what I did is it took me a while to graduate, but the way I was coping with everything was drinking again. And I'm not sure that at first you justify it as I'm just drinking like a regular person. You know what I mean? I'm just whatever. And that, yeah, it's okay because I've got this under control. But my parole says that no, you're not supposed to. And so then I write in the book. My parole officer comes by one day and she opens up the fridge.
Yeah.
There's a 6-pack of beer sitting right there. And that could have sent me back for 2.5 years.
Oh shit. For 6-pack.
For a 6-pack.
Because that's a parole violation, right?
It's a parole violation. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think she didn't report you?
I don't think she saw it.
Really?
Honestly.
I thought you said I thought it was in plain sight, wasn't it? Or did you have
it was right there. It was a 6-pack of bottles sitting right there on the top shelf, right beside the milk. When she walked over there, I didn't even think about it until she opened the refrigerator door. I just think that she opened the refrigerator door. Look, for her, it might have been a 6-pack of. I don't know that she looked that hard. All I know is that I knew in that moment, I knew I was going to be blue warranted. There's a little thing that happens. Well, and when you show up for your parole appointment or whatever, that's a locked door behind you. And that way, if you have done anything wrong or you test dirty or whatever, that door's locked. You can't leave because there's an officer in there also. So anyway, that was everything that was going through my mind.
Wow.
But you know what? She didn't see it. If she did, she was showing me grace. After she left, I had a beer.
I would have been in my mind going, oh, shit.
Oh, that's exactly what I was doing. I was like, I mean, and then, because I'd already picked up smoking again. So I go sit out on the back porch, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, thinking to myself, how lucky I am that she didn't see it.
Wow.
That's all I could think. And then it didn't hit me till later that night. But I thought, oh, she's going to wait till I show up, and because they used to do all kinds of things. Like you would go to your parole appointment which would be at whatever time, like say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then they would call you the next morning or my parole officer would, and she liked me and I did everything they asked me to do. And I was always at my appointments. But she would call you the next morning and say, oh, hey, she called me Lawson. That was my first name. She said, hey, Lawson, I forgot to get you to sign a form. Could you come back up here? Well, every time you go back up there, it was so you would take a urine test because they wanted to see what you were going to do after you had already checked in. So then I'm sitting there thinking, oh, she's going to call me. She's going to call me. But she never did. And then I just became a whole lot more careful about drinking. And actually, that's when I decided to move. And then when I got to Canyon, the parole officer was in Amarillo, and they hardly ever came by. So anyway.
Well, let's go. I think you mentioned that when you got first picked up, you were in Lubbock, correct?
Yes.
And then you went to Randall County to get processed there, and then to Hale County. By the time they first picked you up, how long did it take to process you in Hale County? I mean, how many days or weeks or?
Oh no, months.
Months.
It took. So I got picked up on August the 7th of 2005, and I was in Lubbock County until in December. And then Randall County, I was probably there 6-7 weeks. And then Hale County was the short one. And I was probably there a month. So 7 months, 6 months, somewhere in there.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's, you learn that you really are not as significant as you think you are, because there are people that are locked up every minute, especially in Lubbock. People for everything, it could be a traffic ticket, but they still get processed and everything else. And I mean, it's just, when I tell you that it's a sea of numbers, I mean, it's never ending. And so the whole process, the noise, the sitting and waiting, that's mainly the thing that you do when you're locked up. And even in prison, is sitting and waiting on everything, whether it's for some quiet time, whether it's for a shower, whether it's for a phone call or to go to eat, to whatever, you're waiting. You're waiting. And some people would say, well, that's you, the time doing you and you not doing the time. Oh, well, you have nothing left, and you shouldn't, but it leaves you in a place of not having the control like you thought you had. Does that make sense? Am I making any?
No, that makes total sense. I mean, you're at the mercy of a system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it's not a kind system. It's not there to be a kind system. You're there to pay a price for what you've done.
Absolutely.
So, in that vein, were you ever afraid?
Was I ever afraid? Like,
I mean, just scared for your well-being, scared for your mental health, for your physical health.
Because usually, I assume when you get in process, you're in a cell with a lot of people. You're not in a cell with yourself or another.
Right. Well, I mean, like in Lubbock, in the old jail downtown. Now they have a new one now, but in the old jail downtown, absolutely, you go into the processing room, and it's just a big open room with just plastic chairs, like you would see in any doctor's office or something, you know. And you're sitting there, probably handcuffed. Some people are, some people aren't. Just depends on what's going on. But they keep you kind of separated in your minimum security, medium security. But everybody's in there because everybody's got to get fingerprinted, the picture taken, and then they take you in a little closet. You change clothes, and then they take you to general population. And you know, I was 38 years old, so I was kind of an older guy compared to, I mean, well, I was absolutely scared, but not for my life, not for a lot of the stuff you guys hear about gangs and all that. That gets kind of pulled out of context. You got to be a real problem child to be in that mix, because it's pretty easy to mind your own business if you want to. And that's all I'll say about that.
So
But
what was the fear? What did you fear most during the time you served?
not ever getting out, even though I knew I would, because it's prison. Even a jail is prison. And there's lots of people that would say it ain't that bad, blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? That's when you find out that you do still care about people, and that's absolutely when you start finding yourself again. At first, you know, I'm like everybody else. I want to find a way out. It didn't take me long to figure out I wasn't getting out. I mean, I was already on 2 probations. I'd broken 2 probations. I was on probation in Hale County and in Lubbock County. And so there was no way I was going to get another probation. And it was, I mean, the part that scares you is you don't know when it's going to end. I mean, honestly, and I don't know if a lot of people understand this, and I knew I was in trouble in 3 counties. And if those judges had decided to stack on top of each other, I would have done. So Hale County was 2 years flat because it was state jail. Randall County was 1 year state jail. That would have been flat. So that'd have been 3 years, day for day. And then Lubbock County was 5 years, and you had to make parole on that. Now, most of the time they do run them concurrently, but you know, when you're the one that they're talking to and everything, you know, when you're in that situation, you always think the worst. That's just human nature. You're thinking about the worst and not the best case scenario. So that's what scared me the most, because I had a baby, 2-year-old.
Yeah, you did. That's right.
Yes. And of all things, that's probably the lowest point of my life. They said I had a 2-year-old daughter,
And how old is she now?
23.
And how's your relationship with her now?
Oh, it's great.
Good.
I mean, and to be perfectly honest, so Ryan, she was born at 24 weeks. So she's a miracle baby on her own. She's got cerebral palsy and she's a touch autistic, but she's wonderful. And we didn't really tell her about it. And she just found out about 2 years ago. And at first she was a little, you know, wanted to know why, but it was just because we'd always tried to protect her. But, you know, but she's read the book. As a matter of fact, she just called me the day before yesterday and she's like, I read the book. And I said, well, thank you. I said, what do you think? And she goes, well, she said, I cried. She said, I'm sorry you had to go through that. She said, I'm not going to tell you whether I like it or not. She said, because I don't think that's the point. And I said, completely understand.
That's very insightful for a young lady.
It is.
Yeah.
That's very, very insightful. I cried, by the way. I cried when I read your book. I was very moved by it. And, you know, I loved that you did not focus on using elaborate, syntax. I mean, like that you were focused on just sharing your story in your own voice versus trying to make it sound good. Does that make sense?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so I think that
It was humanized. I mean, it's a humanized.
yeah, it's very authentic. It's very raw, and your language is very everyday. And so it's very layman, I guess and that's not a critique, by the way. That is a compliment because I think that it's going to reach more people because it's so real and so raw as a result.
And that's what I more than anything, because you can't. There's no story without talking about being in prison and everything else. But what I want so much for people to know is I wasted so much time, and I had this life that most days I'm pretty sure I don't deserve, but I'm not going to go there. But I have this amazing life, amazing family, and I have. I didn't ever lose my friends, but I have a relationship with friends that I had probably burned up years ago out of my own self explosion of just, it's like I left a burning path behind me. And sometimes that was for protection of everybody else because I didn't want them to know where I was at and what I was doing, especially when I was doing drugs.
Well, when you go down that path, there's always going to be collateral damage. That's just the nature of it. That's just the nature.
I want to ask before I ask about the questions we sent you, but did you black out a lot when you were drinking? I mean, did you wake up the next morning like, oh, what?
No, I can give you my day. 5:30 in the morning, I wake up. I would take a shower, drink coffee, go to work, come home at lunch, fix a drink, go back to work. I usually left about 3:30 or 4, go home, do a little bit of social media, do uh, 2 drinks that I showed you all ago, 2 of those. Then I would eat something, and then I would go to bed.
Oh,
And I would go straight to sleep. I mean, now I will tell you that I was sitting out in my garage one evening and I was drinking and smoking a cigarette, and I was just in a pair of shorts, and I had a little Elantra that was sitting in front of me, and I took a drag off my cigarette and I coughed so hard that I blacked out, and I fell forward, and the license plate got me right here.
ouch.
It like scalped me. Like I had and it's so embarrassing, but I got up off and I could, and I was big. I got up to like 325, 330 pounds.
Yeah.
And I got up and back in the chair, and it's just like every other time. I sit there and I turn the camera on my phone and I'm looking at my head and I'm doing all this. And then I kind of tilted the phone down and I had some blood on my stomach. My stomach was way out there, probably because I was swollen more than anything, and or bloated. And I remember thinking to myself, man, you got to quit. You're going to die. And the phone rings, and it's one of my family members, and we're talking on the phone. And without even thinking about it, I had walked back in the kitchen and made me another drink because I'd spilled the other one in the garage. And so that moment lasted for just a minute before I was fixing me another drink, and I was laughing about almost scalping myself. I didn't care.
So you didn't need stitches?
No,
You probably did, but you just didn't.
right. I wasn't going anywhere. The only time I went to the doctor was the one time I talk about it in the book, and they gave me a clean bill of health. And so what I do, I went home and had a drink. And that was probably the scariest night. And I don't know why I thought I was having a heart attack, but I did. I was sure of it. I mean,
Your blood pressure was probably through the roof.
Yeah.
Before I forget, because I will forget, I want to go back to something that you said earlier about, I forgot what you were talking about, but you said, I probably didn't deserve it. I want to say something to you, and I want to say something to our viewers out there. We deserve
yes, we do.
all the goodness in the world.
Yes.
We come in deserving the goodness in the world, okay? What happens is that we forget our own divinity. We forget our own light. We forget who we are. We are simply a reflection of God, your higher power, consciousness, whatever
Right.
resonates with people out there. We
That's so
are
good.
an embodiment of that
Yes.
light. We forget that we are already deserving of that. It's not, so don't ever say, I probably don't deserve
Right.
it. And that's not true. We deserve it.
Oh, absolutely.
When
I
I
mean,
talk about my husband, I'm like, oh, I so deserve him. He's the most amazing person that's ever come into my life. And my life is so complete now. I deserve him. And
yes.
we just have to stop forgetting. We have to stop forgetting, we have to remember.
And that's something that I struggle with, not all the time, but because I'm so thankful. I mean, when I tell you how thankful I am, I can't begin to tell you that there have been, well, this is probably a word that you would agree with. It starts with stewardship of whatever God blesses you with. And by what I mean by that, I mean, it's there for everyone. It's just what you do with those things.
Right.
It's what you, it's
And your life should be a celebration of that continued stewardship.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, probably one of the best days of our life has been, we just finalized that adoption. I mean, and on paper, there is no reason why I should have been approved to adopt two children.
Yeah,
And
but
we,
it's not up to,
right.
you're now you're on another groundhog. Stewardship, celebration, joy, stewardship, celebration. So now you're on a different groundhog.
Yeah. And peace.
And peace. Yeah. Because those things bring you peace.
Yeah, I mean, and health. I mean, and that's like one of our favorite words in our home is we like for things to be healthy. We like for things to thrive. And people may think those are cliche-ish words. They're really not. Healthy in spirit, healthy in physicalness, healthy in what you take in and what you bring out, and what you do in your circle. I mean, our pastor always says, "Show me your five, and I'll tell you who you are." And they're right. Show me your five. You want to keep your circle where you've got people that are lifting you up so you can help lift other people up. And that's what I want to do with this book. I want to lift people up and let them know that there's so much more than thinking I don't deserve, or I can't drop the baggage, or I'm stuck, or my life, everything that happened to me, it went just like it. And I'll tell you where it started. It started with prayer. It started with prayers that had been prayed years before this happened, because there's cycles in families, and there's things that happen, and there's always someone that stops and starts doing the praying. And my parents are praying people, and I just believe that all of us, if in your fervent prayers, if you're praying for one another, those prayers are going to be heard. It may not be when you want them heard, but at some point, those prayers reached the heavens, and they are what found me. And I believe that with my whole heart, because I was a lost, dark person. Not in a criminal way, but I didn't have much life left in me.
And now you are found.
Oh man, yes. You have no idea. And that's the best. And I mean, one of our favorite things to do is pray with people and to, and I always try to humanize it because, well, we the way we talk about it is we don't do the King James version of it. We try to be, dear Heavenly Father, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be lifting one another up and saying, hey, I've been where you're at. Guess what? There's a God that believes in you before you were even born that says who you are. You don't get to say who you are. And I believe that. And my wife, I started to bring that prayer that she wrote just and read it to y'all because she was praying for a husband. And this is before I had quit drinking. But if I was to read that to you right now, it's me. But she did that like a year in advance. So, I mean, like to a T. So, anyway, I want people to know that probably that, what I want people to really know is that it only takes one decision. And Lisa, you know this for sure. It takes one conscious decision. And you may have to make that decision 157,000 times.
Right.
Is that right? I mean, you do some counseling stuff, but it takes that one decision. And when you finally, because I told myself every day I was going to quit drinking every day. And every day I didn't. And then one day I didn't say that. I just said, not today. And God spoke to me. Not only did he speak, he was like, say, bud, I've been waiting on you for a minute. Let's go. And that's what I've done ever since. Is anywhere he's told me to go, that's where I've gone.
Good for you. Good for you, man. Well, you mentioned earlier about when you went to prison, all this gangster stuff, but you went to Huntsville.
I did.
I mean,
I went.
I know about Huntsville. It's death row. It's
So I went when I first got there. I was at Gorey, but I was down on the trustee camp. But that's when I got to meet some of the really long timers. That's who the wardens use for their people. They're the ones that have a little place at the warden's house. And I mean, they don't get treated. I mean, they do. They're probably part of the family stuff, but they're lifetimers and stuff like that. But then I went to the walls to get out. Everybody that paroles out has to go to the wall.
huh.
And you can look it up and stuff, but I'm here to tell you. So it's the oldest prison down there. And I mean, have you ever walked into a place and you could just feel dark matter dripping off of you? I mean, like you could just feel the pressure and you're like, oh man, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Well, in the world, when you say you can't do this, you can turn around and walk out. You can't walk out of there. Not in that moment. I mean, you don't have a choice. And it's so surreal because all these catwalks and all these guards going back and forth, and you can look and see all the cells up these walls and stuff. And I mean, and the cells that they show on TV, those are big compared to what a real 2-man cell looks like. They're really small.
I mean, it's a maximum prison, correct?
It's got 2 security levels. They've got lifers, they've got minimum and medium. All of them do now. They just keep them separated because it takes the minimum security and medium security to run the prisons. The inmates do most of the work. So,
well, you
but yeah.
mentioned about the bricks that you can see stories on the walls, and like every brick was a story.
Yeah, so when for me, it was when we got processed in that night, or they took us over there, they have all these this holding area, because the next day you're going to go into what's a good word for it, where you're going to be reintroduced into the world. I can't think of the word. Anyway, and so those rooms get used a lot. Well, and I mean, there's people coming in and out of those every day. Well, there's people's names etched there. There's dates. There's marks like somebody's counting. There are people that have tried to draw pictures. Of course, there's stains. You have no idea what they're from. Of course, your imagination runs away with you at that point. And it was so weird because everywhere else that I had been, most everything's painted white. It's real bright. I don't know if you really want to call it clean, but so they could see. So everything was, and it had the dark lighting. And when you looked out, all you saw was a wall there. I mean, and so it just, when you're laying there and you can't focus and everything, and I got to looking at everything and the things that I had seen and some of the people that I had visited with at like Gorey and stuff. I mean, I was with people that, you know, and some of these people, they'd been locked up for years and they finally made it to trustee, but they had gone through some terrible stuff.
I mean, did you feel like the ghosts, like or the energy of people there?
It was unreal. I mean, it was cold. Like inside I was cold. Like I felt like, yeah, haunting is a good word. I wasn't haunted, but it felt like haunting, like oppression, like
Despair.
Despair for sure. And of course that's a common theme in so many of those places. But I was, man, compared to some of those guys, I was like what somebody would call a billionaire, because I had people out waiting for me, you know. And there's some people, kids, 18 years old, nowhere to go once they got out, no family. I mean, it just, you know, and I've cried a lot since I got home thinking about some of those people. I didn't so much there because, you know, you didn't ever know if you believed anybody or not. But, you know, and then there's some that go to jail because it's a safe place to be. They know how to work the system, so they get locked up for 6 months, especially during the winter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, free bed, food,
Yeah,
you're
food,
safe,
yeah.
Yes,
warm
absolutely.
building. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and if you're indigent, you know, you're going to get X amount of letters and stamps to send a month. You know, I mean, so I mean, I talked to plenty of people like that. It's not a broke system. It's just it's not anything like most people would think. We'll just put it that way.
Well,
And so just back to your question. So at the walls, it's a mix of everything. I mean, there were people there that had the TVs. You can't get TVs in there anymore. This was 25 years ago. And once you buy something, you have a paper for it and they can't take it from you unless you mess up. Well, I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm like, he's had to have been up there in that cell for 40 years. At least. This is black and white TV, man. And so you're sitting there thinking, and that's what you really think about. Can you imagine sitting in a cell where you get out maybe once a day or maybe 3 times a week or whatever for 40 years? And I don't know what he did. I don't pretend to, I'm not going to make up stories. You know, I think there's a lot of people who would like to hear all these background stories about everything. I didn't really try to get into all that because I didn't really want to know.
Yeah.
Well, why torment your mind with that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you could be sitting at a table playing dominoes with somebody that if they'd have told me that they had done something, that I didn't, I mean, I don't know how I would react. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because you don't know who you're locked up with.
Yeah.
But so anyway,
Well, how did they find out you were a cook? Was it in your file, or I mean, because you worked at your dad's restaurant, and you mentioned in the book they find like you went to this one Jello. Guess what? They found
well,
out.
so when you get there, they ask you if you can do anything, and they ask you, and I'm sure I just said something to the effect of, my parents, because you fill out an intake form. Because even in jails, you're gonna uh, work if you can. There's most people don't, but anyway, and I'm sure that I told them at some point that my parents had a restaurant, and so that's how you get on the cook team. Even whether they knew you cooked or not, they just need live bodies with people that'll do stuff.
And then you mentioned about the yeast.
That's
Yeah. I mean, did
probably as close. That's probably as close to gang stuff as I ever got. Just so you know, they and it was real funny. So at Randall County, they really believe in rehabilitation right there in county. And the sheriff there, you can look him up. I looked it up the other day, and he's still the same. It's still the same sheriff, and he has lots of faith-based programs. But they have this really nice kitchen, and they feed. I mean, they make home cooked meals in a lot of ways. So anyway, and they also use yeast, and so you take turns doing stuff. And man, I hadn't been there like 13 seconds. You know what I mean? I hadn't been there long. I didn't really know anybody. And they've got me, and I'm fixing to, you have these books, and it tells you exactly what to use and everything. And then says, ask the guard or whoever, for the yeast. And they get it. You put it in there. Well, I got these guys, and they're coming up to me, and they're like, you gotta pocket some of that yeast. I'm like, what? And I'm pretty naive. I've never made hooch, and so because they had fruit and everything, so they were making hooch with oranges, and they were hiding them. They were hiding this stuff. See, I'm giving everybody up now. I'm gonna be in trouble. So the vent, the filters on those vent hoods above grills.
Yeah.
They had trash bags full of oranges and water. And if they got the yeast, they were letting it set up in there and ferment.
Wow.
Yes. And
That's
then
pretty creative.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so anyway, but I got moved up front, and so I never really got into the whole yeast game. But they were serious. They were like, look, if you can't get it, we need to know. And I'm like, I'm not getting it. And they're like, no, you're going to get it. And I'm like, and so anyway, 2 days later, because we didn't bake every day. And so 2 days later is when I got moved up front. So that was right on time, because I didn't want any of that. Now, when I was out at Formby Wheeler, they had hooch up in those things all the time. I didn't have anything to do with that, but yeah, same deal. So it's something that they do across.
And in Formby, that's the Plainview prison.
That's Plainview, yes. So in state jail, you go to the unit that's closest to your home.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about, I could look out the back, I could look out the window of the dorm and see Plainview.
Well, you mentioned in the book that you were embarrassed because when you went to that prison, you saw people you knew. And there's a classmate of ours, I won't mention his name. He worked there for many years. I played ball with him. And I mean, can you tell us more in depth when you saw a classmate or someone that went to Plainview High, and you saw him there, and you were
Sure. I mean, by that time, now everybody in Plainview, especially if they ever worked out at Hill County Jail, knew I'd been in trouble. I mean, I had been in and out of there 4 or 5 times, but one of the first people that I saw before that, I worked at Jack Morse Ford, and one of the people one of the first guards that I saw was a guy I had just sold a pickup to about about 8 months before. And when he saw me, he walked up to me. I didn't see him at first, and he walked up to me. He's like, "Are you serious?" And I just kind of looked at him and I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "What are you doing here?" I just kind of looked at him and I was a little bit mad. I'm like, well, I screwed up, Anyway, it was real embarrassing. My cousin, who was a guard, worked there. Two of them, actually. So, that's kind of a rough deal. People that used to come in the bar, I mean, I knew a lot of people, and none of them they didn't treat me any different.
Yeah, but what a humbling experience for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like I write in the book, none of them, they're doing their job, and every one of them, all of those same people will hug my neck today. They were glad because it's just as embarrassing for them too. When you see somebody that and that you care about, and except I got this one cousin, you know what? I'm just going to tell you, he still doesn't have anything to do with me. But and some people will act that way. Some people will react that way. There's some people that think that you can't change. There's some people that think that even 25 years later, you know what I mean?
Well, that's their
Or
loss,
20.
Reed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
But
That's their loss.
and I knew that, and I fully expect, and that's fine. That's why I write at the very end of the book. You may not agree with this, or you know what I mean, and that's perfectly fine. That's why we all need to hear each other's stories, and I believe that too. I don't think that there's enough recovery stories. I don't think there's enough people giving their true testimony. It's easy to give a testimony. Give the one that God gave you. Give the one that's hard. Give the one that makes you cry. Give the one that gives you permission to shout for joy, because it's okay to find peace. It's okay to humble yourself and say, God, here I am. Whatever you say, I'm ready. Send me. And that's how we live. And I think it's a great way to live for people, because we all have so many gifts. I used to think that we all just had like one gift. You got a whole toolbox of gifts that people are just, they need it. And for me, I hope that this book is something that people can put in their toolbox. And if they're having a bad day, they can go back and there'll be something that's relatable to them. And that's why I tried to keep it real. I tried to keep it where it's grounded, and that it wasn't like, because I never thought about taking my life. I never thought about, and I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying, I just thought about being an alcoholic. I just thought about being self-indulged. I didn't think, like I said in the book, I was really good at doing things. What I wasn't any good at was receiving. And I don't mean from other people. I mean receiving from God, receiving a word, receiving, you know what I'm terrible at? Receiving silence.
Yeah, silence.
Yeah.
Most people are so uncomfortable with silence.
It's one of the most freeing things in the world.
I tell my people all the time, you can pray, but if you don't shut your pie hole and be quiet, you're not ever going to hear the messages that you're praying for. I mean, that's the truth. I want to bring some levity to this conversation, Reed. So I had a really big chuckle when I read chapter 15, and you were talking about describing how you dropped all your baggage, and you used the word baya.
Yep.
I laughed out loud. How did that word come to play? I mean, how did that show up in your mind and in your writing?
So,
I mean, it's such a slang Tex-Mex word, you know.
I know, and I was sitting there and I was thinking about it mostly. So when I was writing, and I did it in 3 weeks, and I mean, I was really in the moment, and I wouldn't even have to close my eyes. I can, if I wanted to get really descriptive, I could add another 60, 70,000 words to that book about what things look like, what the day felt like. Does that make sense? And everything. And so when I said paya out loud when I was writing it, because and it meant just like it sounds. I released it. It was gone. It was done. It was
paya.
it was paya. And so, and that's what I did. I mean, and I was like, and so when you ask about that, it was really funny because it was funny for me because a lot of times, even I work in an office by myself, and I'll I'll be like, well, it just depends on what's going on, but I'll be like, oh boy, and I'm sitting there, I'm talking to myself. And sometimes the words are a little more descriptive than that. And I'm not going to put it on this show, but Paya was the day then. And I mean, and it was probably more like a Paya because I was, and we all have all this baggage that we carry around. And, when Jesus walked up the hill with that cross, that was all the baggage. You should just let him carry it because he carried it all for you. And so he said, it's finished. It's just so hard for us to believe that. And it is though. And it's paya. It's released.
Nice. Something funnier, at least when I read that part, I'm like, okay, what the hell's paya? No, I'm Hispanic. I'm okay, whatever. I know.
That's funny.
We have around 10, 15 minutes left, so let's get into those daughters you adopted.
Let's
get into.
Absolutely. So
go ahead. I'll take.
Second time that I've audibly heard him, the big man. So when Joe and I got married, she had a previous, they were already in her life. They were her ex-husband's cousins, and they had been with them. I mean, it's just coming to visit and things like that. Anyway,
how old were they at that time? Were they young, very young?
Let's see. They are 14 and 10 now, and that's been 6 years ago. So they were 8 and 4. And they didn't know what to think about me. I mean, the first time that I met them, we'd probably been married about 3 weeks. And they just came over. It was no big deal. They just came to spend some time and stuff. And then through over the next couple of years, we had them for a few days at a time. Nothing official, nothing. And Mom, you know what? I hope she gets everything back the way she needs it. She's gone through a lot of the same things I've gone through. So I'm no one's judge. So I want to make sure that I put that out there for everyone. But it came to a point where the girls were taken away and they were placed with their grandmother. And then the grandmother called and asked, well, I should back up a little bit. The times that we had them, we'd get them in school and we'd get them placed in different things and try and helping and everything. And then we didn't have any legal standing. And so Mom would pick them up and they'd be gone. So long story short, the grandmother calls and asks us if we would be backup in case something happens to her. I'm like, no. I told Joe, I said, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I said, it's a mess. I'm not ready for it. And, which I was just being selfish, I guess, probably. And then we're walking. This is like 2 or 3 months later. Okay. We're walking through United here in Plainview, getting groceries. We're doing our little thing like we normally do. And we get to the avocado section and she's on the phone talking to somebody. And God just told me, he said, you better get them girls. And I'm like, golly. I mean, that's exactly what I was like. And I turned around, I looked at Joe and I said, if we're going to get them girls, you better throw our name in the hat. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm just telling you, God just told me if we're going to get them girls, you better throw our name in the hat. So she did. And 3 weeks later, they were with us. And they've been with us since March of 2023. And we had a gotcha day on December 23rd, right before Christmas. And so we now have Miss Dixie Grace Rowell and Holly Charisse Rose Rowell.
Wow,
That's
congratulations.
beautiful. Yes, congratulations,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty damn awesome.
You know, Reed, this is your biggest redemption.
Yes.
Oh,
You've been given a golden ticket, my friend. I hope
I-
you know that.
oh, absolutely.
I'm just giddy over here. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
You couldn't,
You get to do a do-over. Not very many people get a do-over.
Especially going to prison. I mean,
I know. And it doesn't, it, whenever this all started and they, of course, they have to do a background check and everything. And I looked at Joe and I had tears in my eyes and I said, I'm sorry. I mean, they hadn't even run the background check yet, but I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, there's no way, and they brought it up. They talked to me about it, but they said, no, you're good to go. And then later on, we had another attorney that was talking to us and she was like, this doesn't happen very often. And I'm like, I'm aware. And so, but we are the blessed ones. They're really great kids. They're amazing. I mean, they're regular kids. They're, they're always trying to get away with something, but we love them with all our
I
heart.
had the privilege of meeting them, Lisa.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
When I got
Yeah.
my book signed.
Oh, that's awesome. Do they call you Dad?
No, it's Reed and Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but
I think it's going to come, man. I mean, maybe anytime, not even within the near future.
they're probably in the other room shaking their head going, nope, nope, nope. They're watching.
Oh, they're watching this.
You don't have to be called Dad to be
No.
Dad.
No.
I have a dear friend, a kid I hired at Southwest many moons ago. He's now in he's 50, I think. And he has never called his parents. His dad's Scottish, his mom's Canadian. He has never, ever called his parents mom and dad. He has always called them by their names.
Oh, wow.
He and his brother, they've never used the word mom and dad. Like it's a foreign word.
He's a biological.
Yeah. He's their biological son. He's always just called his parents Pat and Ian.
I call my parents the parentals. So,
Well,
I call mom and dad.
My dad's not around, but whenever I was not happy with him, I would call him by his name.
Oh, that's what I do, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm like, Alfred, that's not going to fly with me. I'm sorry. Because I used to do physical therapy with my dad.
I was too scared to call my dad anything but Dad.
Oh, no. It was either Daddy or Alfred. And my mom knows when I tease her, I call her Terry.
Reed, what kind of support are you getting now? I mean, you've you posted that you had your book, and a lot of classmates are reading and talking about it. I mean, it's here. Let me show you this. Let me show you what Geraldine. I'm sorry. She said, "I cried too when I read the book. More so relief and joy that you're living the truth and hope." So, are you getting a lot of texts and phone calls? And if so, how does that make you feel?
I don't know a whole lot about writing a book. I mean, I do now. And I still don't. There's a lot that I don't know. And I wasn't sure what to expect. But I had told myself, and I talked about it with Joe and a couple other people, I'm like, if it helps one person, it's worth it. And man, y'all, I have been thoroughly, it's been a blessing to me. I've got people that have sent me texts that one person said they walked in, they were just going to read the first couple of pages. Her husband had actually ordered the book. And she said, I thought I would just read a couple of pages. And she said, I picked it up at 10 o'clock. And she said, and I read all the way through. She sent me a
I
text
did
this
too.
morning.
I did too.
And she said, I texted one of my friends whose daughter has some problems going on and said she needs to get a copy of this book. I've had some people tell me that, they think that it would be great for recovery programs. I've gotten texts nearly every day. And I only made the one post that said Overflow is live. I didn't post a picture or anything else. It's just kind of done its own thing. And I think that's kind of what I mean, of course I'm going to promote it where I can and everything, but I think it's one of those things that I want people to be able to sit with it. And because there'll be people, I think I've had some people that have reached out to me that I didn't even know that. Well, let's just put it this way. I would have never guessed on some things about where they've been, and just like a lot of people would with me. How's that?
Yeah.
So, man, I want, God didn't give me this story, but he helped get it out of me. And I want to give him the glory. And I want to make sure that I keep it true to what addiction and redemption looks like. Because it's easy to fumble the ball on this stuff, because I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm pointing a finger or that I know more or anything like that. And so far, everybody is just like over the moon with it. And so I'll tell you that, yeah, I'm very happy about that, because all I did was write what came out of my heart. It was like, what's a good word? Regurgitation in some ways, the first part, and then it was joy on the last part. And when I got to I didn't even know where I was going to stop. And when I got to the last page, I mean, I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, what next? And then I'm kind of praying, and God's like, that's it. You're done. For now, you're done. It doesn't go any further. And so I stopped. And I hope that it travels. I hope the book travels and then it makes it into the right hands for people that need it.
It will, because of where it came from.
Yeah.
Your book is an inspired story. And I was thinking about, you mentioned earlier about your selfishness. When you were young and you were going through those trials and tribulations, you were really cloaked in your ego, Reed. I mean, let's call it what it was. You were, because
Yes.
you only make those choices when you have a big ego and selfishness and self-centered. You were the center of your universe.
That's exactly right.
And I think that this book will find its way to the right people because it didn't come from ego. It came from your heart. It came from the rawness of your experience and your willingness to listen and to express your story from a place of humility and authenticity. And it translates when you read it. I'm not a Bible reader. I have a different belief system, but I was very inspired. I'm a deeply, deeply spiritual person. but my spirituality is my unique thing, and it's not something that I share
Sure.
with people because it's my private thing. But I was deeply, deeply inspired. And I don't think that you have to be a Bible reader, or I don't think you even have to be a Christian to appreciate the
Right.
message that this book, because even the scriptures that you chose were very simple yet profound in their message, and that you could tie that into that particular chapter. And I think that is what will reach people. And
Absolutely. Yes.
and it's going to just travel. This is a book that's going to be a word of mouth book that will reach all the people that God wants it to reach.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And so with that said, I'm going to ask you a really hard question.
Okay.
Do you feel like now, okay, you've put it all out there. There's no more hiding, my friend. There's that now. Do you feel a sense of pressure, like you've really got to live up to this transformation? Like, do you feel pressure in any way?
You know, so 6 months ago, I would tell you, well, and I did, yes, because, but it was mainly that part of me that I wasn't sure about sharing all of it. Now, there may be some people that are very surprised by it, that didn't know any of it at all. As far as the life that I live, oh no, there's no pressure there. As a matter of fact, my hope is that this turns into a movement / ministry. And I hope that I can get in front of people that really need to see it in the flesh. Lip service is easy. Podcast is easy. It's getting in front of people and listening. Just like you were talking about a while ago, a lot of people just need somebody to listen. They don't need to be told what to do or what I did. They need somebody that's been there and will listen to them.
Can you go back to the prisons and speak?
Yes.
Is that okay? Is that
Oh,
your goal?
are you ready for this? After you've been out for 10 years, you can go back as a guard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, is your
But
goal
anyway,
is
yeah.
that one of your places to go to
absolutely.
okay.
Into all the earth. I mean,
Yeah.
wherever I'm called. And so, it's one of those things that I want it to be organic. I want it to be, I've been asked already to speak at a couple of things. We're working out some things on that. One's here at Wayland, and then another guy reached out to me and he said he'd get back with me. But I think, especially in this day and age, I think people need more stories that are hopeful. I really believe people like to see the turnaround. A lot of people have a hard time believing in it, but if the book gets into the hands of a parent that has a child that is struggling and it gives them hope, that helps too. So whichever way it works the best is whichever way God wants to work it. However he wants to work it is great with me. If all I was meant to do is write this book and it just travel, and I got to get to have this with y'all and it's done for me, I'm good with that too. But whatever he wants me to do, and Joe and I've talked about it a lot, we'd really like to turn it into a ministry.
Hey,
To
go
give back.
for it.
Man, I took from this world for a long time. And so whatever I can do to give back, that's what we'd like to do.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting an opportunity to reclaim your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because he lost a lot of time. Yeah, well said, Lisa.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're getting on many levels. You're getting to being a parent, to being an advocate, to being to leading in ministry, to sharing your testimony. I've been working on a book for a long time, and I've had a lot of reservations of what it will reveal, because I like I said earlier, come from a lot of trauma, but when I do verbally share my testimony with people, I cannot tell you, and I'm talking in the hundreds, because I've lived in 9 states, of people saying, when are you writing your book? Not if, when are you writing, but when are you releasing your book? And reading your story, I mean, I don't have, my path is different. Trauma is trauma, though, whatever you've gone through. And, you know, you've given me a lot of courage, Reed, because, you know,
Somebody needs to hear Lisa's story.
Yeah. And I mean, it will be a story of incredible disbelief because, you know, people know me as a cheerleader and a straight A student and homecoming queen and, you know, harvest queen at Sacred Heart. And they don't know.
They don't know what you
They don't know. They don't know. And every day.
Everybody that's watching now they do.
I'm a walking miracle. And the miracle, besides being alive, is that I live a life of purpose, and I live a life of conviction and joy. And I think when you go through hardship, that is the miracle, that if you can come out of whatever you've gone through and step forward in purpose and conviction and joy, you know, the rest is a canvas for you to make art in whatever form you want to make.
Well, we're very proud of you, Reed. I mean, you didn't touch much about the meth, but that's a big addiction there, and people could die from that. I mean,
yes.
I mean, bravo, man, bravo. I mean,
well,
come a long way, man.
And bravo to y'all. Thank you for this show. Thank you for keeping people in touch and keeping it just human. I mean, not trying to. I mean, y'all have had so many different cool stories on here. So thank you for letting me be a part of that.
Oh,
seriously,
man. Anytime.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, we've talked numerous times about how this is a passion project. It's fun. It's been for me particular, it's been very cathartic and incredibly healing to do this with Flo and to reconnect with people, because I wanted absolutely nothing to do with Plainview ever again in my life. And I don't feel that way anymore. I don't. There's been so much healing in my heart. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all human. And it's made there's been a recollection of goodness and good memories. And it has softened and smoothed out the things that caused me great pain. And so this has been a redemption experience for me, you know, and everybody that we have on, regardless if they're funny stories or something is, you know, the serious subject matter is yours, we hope that these stories are touching people.
Absolutely.
And that they, you know, that there's these little strings of light and pearls that are connecting all of us and reminding us of, you know, the special place that we came from and how fortunate that we actually are. You know, I teach a course called The 4 Desires. And at the end of it, I mean, people go literally through hell in this course. It's a course of transformation. At the end of it, it's after you reflect on like, what is these horrible things that have happened, or the habits that you have, or the things that you've done to create havoc in your life. And then you've come out of it on the other side, such as you, and that you now are sharing your story through a book. And in this course, it's called The Miracle Angle. And you wouldn't be where you are today had you not gone through all that. Right. You wouldn't have your kids. Right. You wouldn't have Joe. You wouldn't have this insight and this perspective and this richness of your life and your spiritual life and this relationship with God that you have. This is your miracle angle. Yes. And hallelujah, you get to share it with people.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Hell yeah. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah. Yes. Well, Reed, thank you, man. And, you know, Overflow, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's through, you can buy your book through Amazon. And if you're in Plainview, man, reach out to him like I did. He'll sign it. He'll sign it.
I sure will. And for anybody that doesn't want to mess with Amazon, I'll have finally some. That's cool.
Yep.
I'll have some copies on hand if anybody wants some signed.
You didn't sign my book.
Well,
Just because
you had to
Flo
go to
bought
Plainview
it.
for that. Yeah, man.
But
Okay, so
if you send it to me, I'll sign it.
There you
no,
go.
I will just come see you.
No, you know what? Well, that or I now here's what I've done with a couple other people. If you will message me your address, I will send you a signed copy, and you give that copy to someone that needs it. How's that?
There you go.
I know exactly who I'm going to give this to. I know
Awesome. And
exactly.
I'll get you one in the mail this week.
I will text you when we're over. So I want to tell you something funny about the book. So Flo and I, he's like, "Did you get the book?" Yes, I got it. Okay. He's like, "Please, please do me a favor and have it read by the time our podcast." Are you kidding? So I hang up with him. We're on the phone. I hang up with him. I sit on my recliner, make myself a cup of tea, and I don't put the book down until I finish it. I send him a text and say, "I'm done."
Yeah, and then I said we need it by Friday. I think this was like a Sunday or
Sunday,
Monday.
and I was done.
Sunday.
2
And I was
hours, I
like,
was done.
No way.
Wow.
I'm like, good. I'm like, okay. and
And so-
she goes, I'm done. That's all she said. I'm done. I'm like, oh, okay, my bad. So guys, thank you, Reed, for
You're
coming
welcome.
on.
Thank y'all very much.
And you know, we wish you best of luck with those two young girls and Joe. I mean, just with everything in your life. And
They're amazing.
man, you know, Steve Olson reached out to me when I was in Plainview, just when I was there, and I enjoyed having. I don't drink coffee, but I had enjoyed having tea with them. So every time I come into Plainview, I will reach out to you and maybe get Steve and some other guys. Jimmy
Absolutely.
Bolliger, we can meet at the Broadway Brew and just have a little man talk. So
Sure. I would love that.
beautiful.
Reed, I'm sending you a big, giant virtual hug.
Yes.
Dude, I'm so
Fist bump, baby.
effing proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hugs,
Hugs.
fist bumps,
Fist
the whole
bump.
night, y'all. Goat knuckle.
Go Knuckle. Love you
All of
guys.
it. I love you. I'm
Yeah, I love
proud
you,
of
brother.
you. I love what you're doing, and keep on keeping on. Okay,
Absolutely.
keep sharing
All right.
your story. Thank
Good
you
night,
so
my
much.
Man.
Thanks, man.
Say
Love
hi to
y'all.
Joe and the girls. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Flo,
Lisa.
it took all the strength in me. I'm super proud of myself that I did not cry.
Well,
'Cause
you
it's
should
been-
let it out.
No,
Just
it's
let it
I
out.
ugly cry. I'm an ugly crier. I really am.
Yeah.
And it was right there. It was just right there.
A lump in your throat, huh?
Yes, yes.
And you know, the thing is, you know, you always say, you watch this stuff that happens on in the news, and it's like I mean, I don't think I would know anyone or happen to me, and there's he's 2 years younger than us, but he's still a classmate, still
He's still our
a
classmate.
brother from Plainview, and it happened to him. And again, kudos to him because, in my opinion, you know, when you let everyone know in a small town, and not necessarily Plainview, but just any small town. I mean, it's a small town. The word gets around. But if you lived in Houston or Dallas or just a big city, you're just another number. No one's going to care. In my
Right.
opinion. So
Well, I think when you go through some hardship like that, that at the end of the day, you know, there are going to be people that judge you,
yeah,
but you'll know who your real friends are, I believe,
absolutely.
coming out of that.
When he said it, and I was going to ask him about it, he already said it when his pastor said, let me meet your 5 friends and I'll know the person you are. And that is very, very true. I mean, one of the best advice I got from a guy when I started working in this one industry for 17 years, and we would do a lot of networking, and unfortunately, it was at bars. He told me, man, he goes, if you want to be successful, hang around with the successful people. Yes, these other people, they're friends, but they're here to drink and have fun and party. No, it's you want to be a successful person in this industry and hang around with the suits, basically. And I did. And I did. Yeah, every occasionally I go over here, but I would put myself around other successful people.
I share that with all my nieces and nephews who are still very, very young. I always tell them, hang around with people that are smarter than you, more successful than you, more accomplished, more well-traveled, more well-read, because you will grow, you will expand, and it will improve your chances of
Yes.
success and a better life for yourself. And the other thing too, like in my yoga world, we experience ourselves and we experience the world through our five senses. So I tell people, be mindful, because you become what you listen to, what you read, what you watch, what you eat, what you speak.
Yes. I
And
agree.
if you are not mindful of those things, then before you know it, you are this other person you don't want to be.
No.
So it's real important to do those things. I mean, when Reed talked about health, well, health involves all those things. You have to pay attention. You can't just walk through life mindlessly and not think,
No.
okay, is this food going to provide me health, or is it going to make me unhealthy? Is this company I'm keeping going to make me a better person or not a good person? Is this show I'm watching going to be good for my mental health, or is it just mindless TV?
Yeah. Yes. I totally agree.
Obviously we splurge, but if you start making those, asking yourself those questions and making the right choices daily, then you grow and expand as a human being. Your consciousness grows, your discernment grows, your wisdom grows, and you make better choices. Therefore, your life is better.
Yep. Well said. Thank you. Well, guys, it's getting late. It's time for me to go to bed. And you too, Lisa. Well, next week we're going to have football players again, guys from the Plainview, and then also some guys from Monterey. And every guest is going to be from the class of '83. To my knowledge, they're all '83. But so stay tuned for that show next Tuesday.
It's going to be lively.
Yes, yes, it is. Well, Lisa, hey, I'm glad you joined me on the headsets and the mic. You sound great. You look great, and
2 years later,
we
finally.
look professional now. So we need to take retake pictures so it'll be more clear. But anyway, good night, everyone, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. And hey, go Knuckle. Peace and love, and go Knuckle. Bye, guys. Good night.